Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with a battle report. So my local game store is going out of business, and it really breaks my heart. And they had a really cool deal going on that you could, if your army was fully painted, you could have it displayed in a display case there. That way, whenever you played, you wouldn't have to transport your army. You could just pull it out of the case and play. Well, I used to store my armies there, and then recently I just started bringing them home. Well, when they closed their doors, uh, to do some inventory before their final closeout sale, everybody who had their army on display didn't have an army to play with. So I invited a guy over to my house and told him he could use any of my armies. So he wanted to give Beastmen a go, so he put together a list, brought it over, and ironically, the list he put together was fairly similar to what I usually use. Of course, he knew that he had to use he was constrained by the models that I had. Anyway, so while we were waiting for him, my son and I set up the table. On the upper left was a bunch of woods, lower right's a bunch of buildings, and so we thought a meeting engagement might be a good way to play that. There's a charnel pit there in the middle. So I stuck some archers on the right, some skirmishing bowmen in the building, and then I've got 40-ish men-at-arms. He's got Razor Gore, Tuskgore Chariot, a unit of Gore. Now what he did is he took 3 level 2s, all with the lore of beasts, and stuck one in each of his main units. And so, he doesn't have a herd stone, but he has like a dispel scroll, a power scroll, a something else, something like that. Anyway, so you can see he's got a Gore unit, and then a Razor Gore, and then behind that building he's got his Best Gore. So in between my 2 units of men-at-arms, both of whom have about 40, I've got my Bretonnian Death Star. And I didn't make this list just for this game. It's the one I've used recently for a tournament. But this basically has 11 Knights of the Realm and 4 characters in it. And it's pretty brutal. So there in the front left, I've got a Paladin with the Armor of Argolf and Dawnstone. So he basically has a 2-up rerollable armor save. Then I've got my BSB with the Grommel Greathelm, which gives him a 2-up rerollable armor save. Then I've got my Lord, who's got Heroic Killing Blow with all that other stuff. And since he doesn't have a rerollable armor save, I gave him the Potion of Toughness, so that if he gets into a combat that I'm worried about, well, I can drink that potion at the start of the turn. So I guess I did tweak this list because that's a new thing I thought I would try on him. Anyway, and then I also have my Prophetess with a Dispel Scroll in the middle of them, and a Damsel with the Iconic Cornelis giving these men-at-arms the same ward save as the Knights. So with both of them taking Lore of Beasts, it allows me to pretty much get the spells where I want them. And in this game, the Damsel did indeed get the 6-spell Transformation of Kadan. So if you know me, you know I'm always trying to get that spell off, and it never works, but I try to. You may also notice that a lot of my Knights were in the Bretonnian Beauty Pageant, and those that won their division have a small trophy on them. If you look at the Green Knight, they're on the yellow reins. You can see it looks kind of weird, but it's basically like a yellowish mirror-looking thing, which I thought was kind of funny. Anyway, I have Fast Cav and Peg Knights. In his Best Gore unit, the Best Gores he gave the Standard of Discipline. He has his General in there. And then next to him he has a Gore unit. That's the very top middle of this picture. And he gave them he gave the BSB the Razor Standard. He's got Minotaurs, another Chariot, and another Razor Gore. So his lines look something like that. So we go Beastman turn 1, and he moves forward very aggressively, actually. But I guess it is meeting engagement, so it's kind of designed to get in combat very quickly. Nothing happened in the magic phase, so we go to Brett turn 1. So if you started on the left, my Peg Knights charged his Razor Gore. My Fast Cav charged his Tuskgore Chariot, not because I thought I'd probably win, as much as I needed to get them out of the way of my Knights Errant, because I wanted them to charge the Minotaurs. Now they have the Errantry banner, and I realized when I went through my list, I just totally ignored my Knights Errant. So anyway, I have 12 Knights Errant, Errantry banner, and I don't know if they're going to beat that unit of Minotaurs, but it's my best chance of doing it, so went ahead and threw them up there. Here on my far right, my bowmen were able to get a flank charge into that Razor Gore, which I really liked. The only thing that I didn't like was both of these units, my Death Star and the Men-at-Arms charged unit of Gore. I didn't need much for them to make it, and both of them failed. Once one failed, I was kind of glad the other one did. But I was really kind of assuming both of them would get in there. I would easily beat them in combat, and then I would just automatically be behind his lines and being a real thorn in his side. But it wasn't going to happen. So at the end of combat, trade wounds with the Razor Gore. I win, he sticks. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I wounded him. Either way, we stick around. The Tuscarora Chariot kills a couple of my fast cav. I stick around. Knights Errant blow through his Minotaurs. He only does one wound to my guys, which I thought was very unfortunate. I would expect him to do at least 2 or 3 anyway. But regardless, with the help of the Charnel Pit, beat him. Nova ran and got out of line of sight of the Gore unit right next to him. And very disappointed here. 1, I didn't do any wounds to him, and 2, he has 4 attacks and he did 4 wounds on my guys, which I didn't like. Anyway, so he reforms. We go to Beastmen turn 2. Blurry picture of it. The board looks something like that. Here at the bottom, I think he charged and wasn't able to get in there with his BSB's unit. If you look at the top left, his Bestigor unit, basically he turns and is trying to come around that what's basically a watchtower on a hill. I probably disagree with that decision. I would have just, and I assumed he just would have stepped him into the watchtower and then just stepped him out again wherever he wanted or needed him. But regardless, he's kind of moving around there. Up here, that's the Gore unit that I tried to charge with my Death Star and my Men-at-Arms. So he's skirting around me. He knows he's going to beat up on those peasants and then get out of my charge arc, or at least have decent odds of getting out of my charge arc. If you look how deep he is with that Gore unit, if my bowmen don't kill a whole lot, he's going to have to roll pretty high so that my Men-at-Arms can't flank charge him next turn. Anyway, looks like this. After combat, he kills off my fast cav, but then my Pegasus Knights finish off his Razor Gore, which was very surprising to be able to do 3 wounds on it. And up here, it looks like that. You know, hindsight's 20/20. It looks like it would have been better if his Ungor or if his Gores would have just reformed to take that charge, because now my Men-at-Arms are going to get a flank charge, and because he's so close to me, no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to be able to get many guys into combat, so I'm kind of going to be just clipping them, even though that wouldn't be my intent. And anyway, we go to Brett turn 2. Overall, the board looks like that. I don't know what the deal is with my blurry pictures. My Peg Knights get an easy rear charge into his Tuscarora Chariot, and that's not going to go well for him. My Men-at-Arms just march up. What I'm trying to do there is make it so that if his Bestigors charge me, I can flee and get away. And if I can pull them away from the main combat, I'm very, very happy with that. I'd rather not catch my guys, but I'm willing to take that chance. Let's see, over here, you can see my Men-at-Arms are charging to the flank of the Gore unit, and I mean, we wheeled him as much as we could until I touched his base, and then we wheeled back to close the door, and there's only going to be 3 of his guys in combat, so it's not going to be super good for him. Yeah, so it looks like that. And then after combat, well, first of all, after shooting, his Razor Gore now has 2 wounds on him from my bowman in the house. Not surprised they can hit him, but wounding on 6 is kind of tough, and they've been two shooting phases been able to do that. Otherwise, yeah, the Men-at-Arms beat his unit just through static combat res and ran him down. Either ran him down or they ran off the board. Either way, pretty sure I ran him down. And by the way, my Trebuchet is in my back far corner. It hasn't done anything this game. It was the only unit that didn't come on during deployment, so it couldn't shoot the first turn anyway. His Tuscarora Chariot's dead, and we move to Beastman turn 3, so he just moves his chariot up so I can't charge him, charges his Razor Gore into the house, and in case I forget it later, it was just kind of funny. He goes in there, my 10 guys attack him. Again, I'm going to hit about half of those or less, and then I'm wounding on 6s, and I get the final wound before he can fight. That's just kind of an epic fail on the Razor Gore's part. Let's see. Beastman turn 3. Yeah, he charges in there with his Gore, knowing that I had 2 buffs from Weisson's Wild Form. So I'm toughness 5, strength 6. And he went ahead and brought his guys in, and then in his magic phase he gets 1 buff. So he's strength 4, toughness 5. So there won't be maybe as much wounding done as normal. But I thought that was very brave of him to come on in. Now, if you look at my knights in the top right, it looks like if I stick around, those knights are going to be able to flank charge. Yeah, so even if he'd won and overrun the men-at-arms, it would still be tough for him to get out of my charge arc. So, anyway, it looks like that. And after combat, I think we both lose like 7 guys, and I was very happy with that. And we go to Brett turn 3, and yeah, so my knights come in his flank, like really could have been expected. And that is not going to go well for him. Now, the thing about this build is you can't attack my Knights of the Realm. You have to attack characters, and they're very tough to hurt. And then when I charge in, all of those Knights of the Realm behind them get all of their Strength 5 attacks. So they're pretty nasty. Sorry for the blurry picture. I just reformed the Men-at-Arms to face his chariot. And after combat, Knights reform to take what I assume is the inevitable charge by his Bestigors. Bestigors are Knight Killers, and if you can attack my guys, even with those characters there, that's going to be tough on me. The Men-at-Arms were not able to run down his Gores, but at least I was able to kill that, the BSB, just by, because he fled. And then on his turn, he charged the Men-at-Arms, and I was kind of surprised at that at first, but I think what he was thinking was that he would easily beat them and then overrun and get out of the charge arc of my general's unit. And although it's possible, it's not necessarily likely, because he's going to have to roll pretty well to get out of their sight. This picture was taken a second too soon. He rallied his Gore unit at the bottom left, but he ended up reforming him facing the Men-at-Arms. He charges in with his chariot. There's really nothing else he could do with his chariot because he wasn't going to be able to get out of my line of sight. Anyway, so after combat, he beat the Men-at-Arms, and when I fled off the board, kind of just because I was bounced through the house and I was so long that I touched the table edge. And then when he pursued, he didn't roll very high. So now my guys are going to get a free flank charge in there. So on Bretonnian turn 4, my Death Star, even though I can't fully line up, my whole right side of that block isn't fighting. But that's still going to hurt. I've got my Knights there in the rear, my Peg Knights in the side. And, I mean, that's all she wrote. Especially after the magic phase. So Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, when you cast the higher up version and all characters within 12 inches get +3 toughness, well, when those characters are shielding my whole unit of Knights of the Realm, and you can only attack them, that is especially helpful. So he's not going to, it's going to be very difficult for him to get any wounds off on my characters. I think they have 1. I got the Savage Beast of Horus off with all characters, so all those characters have +3 strength, +3 attacks. I mean, it was just crazy at that point.